Yeah, so the Climate Change Authority's role, as outlined by the Parliament, is to provide independent advice on what Australia's environmental waypoint should be to lead a stronger Australia to a net zero future. That waypoint being 2035. And my role was to provide advice grounded in what Australia can achieve at
Today
home.
I announce that we have accepted their advice that Australia's 2035 emissions target be 62 to 70%.
Sort of on the political front, I'm going to quote something from your article. You say that whether we achieve these targets depends on how determined we are to stay the course and to insist our politicians do likewise. What do you think political courage looks like in practice?
Well, I think it's acting in the national interest. And clearly, it's in the national interest to future proof our industries, to future proof our economy, to future proof our way of life, and to future proof our planet. And the science clearly states what's required to do that. And the economics clearly show that there's a lot of opportunities out there if we do that. You know, for too long we've seen many people, many Australian politicians acting for vested interests rather than in the national interests. And I think political courage looks like standing up for the national interest in the face of very strong voices on the left and the right for their own sectional interests.
I'm quite curious about the sort of global context, especially when we're talking about ambition. And I think in last Friday's press conference, you did mention the global environment. Do you think of Australia as more of a leader or a follower when it comes to sort of climate policy, especially in light of this target?
Well, I think that Australia will now be in the leading cohort of nations when it comes to climate ambition. 62 to 70% puts us up there with the most ambitious countries in the world. I think we follow the UK. Europe has just signalled intent around 63 to 73, I think. So we are up there we've gone from laggard to leader based on this body of work. But also when you look at the climate risk assessment and what is needed to avoid dangerous climate change.
Some natural disasters will occur more frequently and in places and at times they haven't previously been common. Natural disasters will increase most dramatically in Queensland, New South Wales, the ACT and Tasmania. And the amount spent on disaster recovery will increase dramatically over coming decades.
Because of our natural advantages around renewable energy, we can basically provide a lot of the goods and services that the rest of the world is going to require in a decarbonised economy. And let me give you this stat for your listeners. Currently, Australia is about 1% of total global emissions, but when you add our fossil fuel exports to that, we come in at about 4.5%, or about just less than a 20th of total global emissions. So we have an outsized impact on the climate as a nation. But when we did the modelling, if you use your renewable energy resources to add value to our iron, steel, aluminium processing, we can help displace 9% of the world's total emissions. And there is a big economic dividend in doing that for Australia.
In your piece for the paper, you do paint quite a optimistic vision of the future. How do you sort of marry the inevitability of this climate change fallout, which we can expect, with the need for things to go smoothly in order for us to meet this goal?
Well, I think that, take, for example, the Trump administration's withdrawal from Paris. That doesn't mean progress stops, for example. US states like California are still driving towards 100% clean energy, and Texas is now a leader in solar. Regardless of President Trump's decisions, for example, renewables continue to be the lowest cost form of power. EVs are selling in record numbers right around the world, and companies are locked into net zero commitments. And Australia's key trading partners are continuing to move strongly.
The report does mention that there will be learning by doing, which seems like a polite way of saying there might be teething issues. In meeting, let's say, the sort of top end of the bracket, are there any policy gaps you're immediately worried about?
I think we need to get on with the rollout of renewables. That's the largest source of emissions reduction that we can get. So, and we need to do this anyway. I mean, you've got 22 gigawatts of electricity capacity that's coming out of the system right now. I mean, take climate change out of the discussion. This is old sources, old machines that have, provided the backbone of our electricity system for a long time, and they're now at end of technical life, and we need to replace them in any case. And it just so happens that the cheapest way to replace them is now with technology that is also the cleanest way.
And just lastly, you're obviously a man who spends a lot of time thinking about the future. If you had to choose one metric by which history judges Australia's climate action in 2035, what would that metric be?
Well, I think the focus of governments and the political leadership of our nation needs to be squarely on how does Australia benefit from doing what the science and the world requires us to do. And that is, how do we produce a stronger, more prosperous nation whilst at the same time delivering a cleaner, better and safer planet for future generations to enjoy? They're not mutually exclusive propositions. We can do both, but it will require courageous leadership. It will require considered and thoughtful policies to be able to deliver it. And it will require political leaders and the community to stay the course through the ups and downs of political cycles, but knowing that at the end of the day, this is in our national interest and we need to keep working towards building that better, brighter future for everyone.